AL Central favorites still, or does the Tigers' re-signing of Jack Flaherty boost them ahead of the Guardians in terms of who you think will win the Central this season?
Well, I don't think the Tigers are their stiffest competition, so it doesn't change my view. I think it's the Royals and the Guardians fighting it out this year for the division. The Tigers obviously are good, and the Flaherty signing really bolsters their rotation behind Skubal. I just like the Royals lineup up and down, and I like their frontline starter, Nicole Reagans, and Bubic moving into the rotation after being in a bullpen role last year. I just think Kansas City is going to be really it's going to be a fun division, really.
Jay,
there's 4
I don't
teams.
think there's a division in baseball that's this tight.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
Like the White Sox, you could throw the White Sox out.
Yeah,
but
the other 4.
The other 4, to me, I don't know that there's going to be 4 or 5 games that separate first from fourth. And there is nothing that can happen with the first 4 order that would surprise me. If Minnesota won it, if Detroit won it, Kansas City, Cleveland, none of that would surprise me. None of it would surprise me if either of those 4 teams finished 4th in the division.
In their newspapers or their publications right now in those other cities, Minnesota is selling, hey, the Guardians, I think they got a little bit worse this year. Kansas City, I think we could catch. All those cities, they're saying, look, we got a shot here. Now, the Guardians, I would give them, becoming, because they're the incumbent and they won last year, I would give them a little bit of an edge, but Royals got some nice young talent. The Tigers came, and I think the Tigers are going to be confident in the way that they played the Guardians at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, it'll be very interesting to see how Vogt does it the second year and which one of these young dudes is going to step up, because that's to me is the question mark.
Yeah, I don't know that I would pick the Guardians. Like on an all-in bet, and I had to pick one, I don't know that it would be the Guardians, just because we've talked about this on the show. It's really hard to make any kind of a case that they're the team they were last year.
Yeah.
That you took their second best bat off of the team, and I know that you replaced him with a guy who's a big question mark, older. Could Carlos have another year like he did last year? I suppose. The odds are against that. But even if he does, defensively up the middle, I think that teams that are great are always strong defensively up the middle. You lost the best infielder defensively in baseball. Now, Jimenez's bat, you can easily improve on what he was giving you offensively, but you know that you're going to have the first half of this year without Shane Bieber. Last year they went into the season, they didn't know that. And also David Fry is going to be unavailable until, June or July-ish?
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to make a case that the Guardians are better than they were last year. But the Tigers, to me, will be a year older, a year more seasoned. I think Skubal is poised to become this guy that could line up the Cy Youngs. Yeah. He's that good, and he proved it in the playoffs when he had to. And you mentioned Kansas City's lineup. What team wouldn't love, other than the Dodgers, would love to have Kansas City's lineup? It's incredible.
I do think the Guardians' rotation could be much improved this year. Gavin Williams, if he's healthy for a full year.
Yeah.
A real wild card to me with Cleveland's pitching is Tristan McKenzie. And what version are you getting?
Have you heard anything about?
He's healthy. I mean, as healthy as you can be with what he's dealt with. They feel like his stuff was good. He needs to trust his stuff and attack the zone. That he was maybe nibbling, maybe it was because of the injury that he was nibbling a bit. If he can get back to throwing strikes, he makes a massive difference in that rotation. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but if you can plug in a healthy Tristan, along with Tanner Bybee, along with Gavin Williams and some of the moves that they've made, this rotation could be significantly better this year than it was last year.
So he never had surgery. Has
Correct.
that affected his velocity, the pitches he throws?
He had a great curve last year. He was throwing a dynamite curve.
His fastball velocity was down when
down.
he first injured the elbow.
Yeah, it was down.
And he never got it back to where it was.
So, and that's I think you can make the case and say he probably should have had the surgery. But, I mean, we're at the point now where it is what it is. So we'll have to see when he shows up at Goodyear and see what he looks like. But if he can figure this out, and it's a big if, but if he can figure it out, he would be an enormous boost to this rotation. I don't know how you can count on him right now. I think whatever you get from him is a bonus. And I think by some of the moves that you saw them make, They know that they can't necessarily count on him to be a front of the rotation type guy. But if he does figure out how to pitch with this, he'd be an enormous boost.
Yeah, I think if we're playing the if game, I would say if Shane Bieber comes back and is Shane Bieber. I mean, I think back to his last start, which he was clearly hurt.
Yep. Pitching through excruciating pain.
And was dominating. He dominated his first 2 starts. He was dominating his second. I remember when they pulled him, he was visibly upset in the dugout. Now, maybe it was because he had re-injured his elbow.
I think he was pitching through pain.
It clearly was pitching in pain. If he could, and you don't know. I mean, you don't know what that surgery is going to do, and you don't know how a rehab and all that's what it's going to take out of him. But if Shane Bieber can return to form, and Tristan McKenzie can return to form. These are 2 front-of-the-rotation guys who a couple of years ago were in the top 5 favorites to win the Cy Young in the American League. But, as we all know, there are so many things that have to fall in place when you're anybody but the Dodgers. When the Dodgers literally are operating on your premise, Operation Stockpile.
They're not playing either.
You can make an argument that they're the most improved team in baseball.
Jason said,
and they won the World Series.
I want to see what you said. Jason and Bull said this. He said, they got 5 number 1 starters.
They do. At least 5 top of the rotation starters.
That's why.
They do.
I have never heard ever.
It's Operation Stockpile.
You got 5 number 1s.
And so, I mean, I love baseball. You guys know that. I try to get excited every year about maybe this is the year that the long drought ends. I've never been less excited about that because what you're basically playing for is to win the division and to make the playoffs, and if you're really lucky, you'll get the right to lose to the Dodgers in the World Series. I cannot see, as I'm sitting here on February 3rd, I can't see a world that the Dodgers don't repeat. And that's bad for baseball.
We did a whole story about getting this guy from Japan and maybe what dollars add up.
Sasaki.
It was like, nah, we saw what y'all do. Operation
I never get excited about those conversations. That never happens in Cleveland.
Then I wake up, they're like, oh, yeah, the Dodgers got him. And then listen, and now they got this new Shohei Ohtani move. Everybody want to defer dollars. They're going to pay him in annuities next year. Like, yeah, his contract is $1. I'm like, this is cheating.
Well, what does he get? $68 million deferred every year or something ridiculous
crazy.
like that?
How did they let you do that? That's crazy.
Well, when you're the best pitcher and one of the best hitters.
And he's going to pitch this year?
I think so. Yeah, that's the intention.
Ohtani
I don't know why they would, to be honest. Maybe I would hold him until August. And just get him in shape for the playoffs and let him do his thing in October.
I ain't been gambling. I might put some money down. I might say they're going to get over 110 wins.
I've heard people say 120 is not out of the question.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And now, as good as they were last year, could you imagine if they would have had a Shohei Ohtani in their rotation last year?
Silly, Jay.
You're chewing up everybody in your path.
Where are they getting this money from?
We got super chats, and I'm guessing the Dodgers must get a gajillion super chats a day to pay for that roster. That's the only explanation I can think of. But